All right, everybody, welcome to the Hour of Sales Power. My name is Joe Crisera, and I am talking to my great friend, Mr. Rick Picard. Rick, say hi to everybody today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for
Well,
having me,
Rick,
Joe.
today we're having a very interesting discussion, and I hope everybody has the worksheet with them and has downloaded the worksheet and printed it out. And get your pen and paper ready, because coming to a meeting with Uncle Joe and Rick Picard is like going to home plate at Fenway Park without a baseball bat. Right, Rick?
That's right.
You got to be prepared to take some notes, because I'm going to have some golden nuggets are going to come out of our mouth here tonight. That's what we're going to try to do here. So thanks, everybody, for being here, and it's definitely an honor and a pleasure to have everybody join us here tonight. It looks like we have a large audience on the web stream tonight, Rick. So, Rick, tonight's subject on the Hour of Sales Power is 3 objections that you must overcome before and after your presentation, before or after your presentation. So, Rick, we're going to talk about solving customers' problems in terms of the resistance they're going to have to making a purchase to get their home more comfortable, or to get a sewer system or electrical panel, whatever it is they're going to purchase, to try to make sure that we overcome that resistance so we can perform world-class service, right? Rick, what's the importance of this subject to be able to channel this resistance in a way so that it's productive, has a productive outcome for the client?
Yeah, well, it's important that we're able to overcome these objections so we can provide a better service for the customer. Objections are just opportunities for us if we know how to get the customer to communicate with us in a better way, so we can find out what level of service they need. All right. So, so if we look at these objections as ways to gather more information, so we'll be able to help the customer think through it and pick a better solution. It's really a demonstration of our service to them, right? And so if our motive is to provide them world-class service, then we're going to want to handle objections, because we're going to want to help our customers. And I think that goes to a core belief that we really believe that if the customer does business with us, that's what's best for them, because we know that not everybody's going to provide the quality of service, and not everybody's going to have the pure motive that we have, and that's our desire to give them the best value that we can.
Rick, that is important. I think that confidence that you feel you are the best solution, as opposed to settling for somebody else being better. How important is that you actually believe that in your? I think it's the first person who sold is who on when you're making a presentation for somebody.
It's exactly what I was going to say, Joe. The first person who sold on any sold is yourself. And there's some things that the customer can see. Like when a customer gives you a price objection, right? If you hesitate at that price and you show that you don't believe in that price, they're going to recognize that, right? So you really have to be confident that the price that you're giving is representative of the value that you're giving. All right. The same thing in your belief about your company. I mean, if you don't believe that your company is the best choice for them, because you're going to be worrying about the safety of their home, and they're going to be giving them the quality, you're going to be you're going to be providing reliability. You're going to be providing them the best customer service. If you flinch, then that's going to that's going to do a lot going the bad way where you don't want to go. So we really want to be confident. Now, if we're not confident in that, well, then that's something we have to work with the company and find out. All right, I'm not confident in the company for these reasons, and that's more of an internal thing that really has to be worked on, because we have to have that confidence if we're going to provide world-class customer service and have the pure motive.
Yeah, and so everybody knows the pure motive is really to say, I'm here to provide the best health and safety for your family, and also provide the best quality and reliability in the system I'm going to go ahead and renovate. And then I'm also here to give you the best customer service and to make sure that all these solutions are personalized for your family. That's really kind of what the pure motive service is about. And I think this worksheet is going to help everybody going into this year and going into this summer of this year to be able to make sure that we can execute the pure motive service, because talking about pure motive service is one thing, but doing it is something else, right, Rick?
Right. Yeah, we really have to live it. And again, if you're that's your motive, the customer's going to see it, and it's going to be conducive.
Yeah, I think
success.
that you're not going to be able to push through the resistance, whether it's before the call or after the call, you're not going to have the passion to do that because you really realize the motive is kind of a shallow, greedy motive. And when you get into that area, it's very difficult for any human being who's not a sociopath to not want to care about their customer and then let them off the hook in a way. Does that make sense?
Right, and I really think people are more in tune to really looking at what people's motives are. I think people can recognize if your motive is
Yeah.
wrong. All right, so the consumers are informed and educated, and if you're just there or doing some of the things we talk about because they're a technique, not a demonstration of your pure motive, the customer's going to pick up on that. And then uh, sometimes I say to you that I'm not the best at overcoming objections, Joe, because I do everything I can not
That's
to
a
get
good.
them.
That's a good idea, Rick. Let's go.
Yeah, I try to deal with them up front, and I will go into that, and we'll talk.
I got you. Let's go into the worksheet here, Rick. We got 3 different objections. One is the uncommitted customer who's not sure what they want to do or when they want to do it or if they want to do it. The next one is the price objection where somebody says, I'm just looking for a good price on this. And the third thing is my wife and I need to think about it to try to bring everybody together to have equal access to the information as opposed to having to think it over at the end. So, Rick, let's start with the uncommitted buyer, and we're going to go over both what we can do before to handle this objection, which is obviously, well, I haven't asked you, Rick. I mean, do you prefer looking at every one of these things, have a before we have the objection and after we have the objection, just so some of the newer viewers can understand you a little bit more? Do you prefer to handle objections at the end of the call when you've given your prices, or do you prefer to handle it before you ever given prices? Tell us just give us a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into the worksheet.
Well, obviously it's much easier to deal with objections before they happen. All right, when you're able to handle those objections, and then at the end they're in a position just to be able to focus on the solutions, and be able to you're opening up the customer into a buying environment, right? So if you've handled all the objections up front, now they're focused on what solution is going to be best for them and their family. It makes it a lot easier than at the end having to deal with them. So I think we'll see when we go through these, handling them before is much better than having to deal with them after.
Usually you kind of get nervous about the objection handling shows because you're like, Joe, I don't have any objections at the end. I try to get them all over at the beginning, right?
Right, yeah. I guess I always liked, one of the first things you taught me, Joe, was there's 3 kinds of lights, right? Just like in driving. There's a red light, there's a yellow light, and there's a green light, right? And, if you're on a call and you get a caution, a yellow light, and you keep on flying through that, well, what happens if you keep on going through yellow lights and when you're driving? It's an accident.
You're going to get hit from the side, right? When you're not expecting it. And that same thing happens in sales, right?
Right, exactly. So if we see those different, red light, it means stop. A yellow light means caution. Let's slow down and let's listen to what. It's another thing when we do that. When we listen, what I've learned when you taught me that, Joe, was when I started slowing down and listening to the caution signs or the stop signs, signals I was getting from the customer, and asking them questions, the customer gets the feeling you're actually listening to them. Right? Think about it. So this first one, uncommitted objection, not sure if and when I want to do this job or not, and you just totally ignore that and just blow right through the call.
Yeah, and the client's like, that guy didn't even hear what I said. I mean, why am I going to buy a system that costs more than $10,000 from somebody who doesn't even listen to me at all, right?
Yeah, they told you they weren't sure if they wanted to do the call at all. If they wanted to do the job at all. You ignored it, and at the end of the job, you're asking for the sale.
So I think that's step one. I think looking at the uncommitted buyer, moving into the worksheet now, as you have so elegantly, yep. Rick, you transitioned right into the worksheet, and I think that would be a good write that down for your first thing. I think for before we get this objection. Listen and address what people are telling you. So when somebody says, I'm not sure if I want to do this at all, or when I might not want to do it till next year, I'm really not sure about whether I really want to do this this time. But I'm just going to get estimates anyway. And you're kind of hearing a little bit of a contradiction. I'm going to get estimates and take invest my time in this, but I'm not investing myself in any kind of a conclusion in a way. And then if you don't address it, so bad customer service would be to say, well, let's go measure the house. And good customer
Right.
service would say, Rick, tell me more about that. Why is it that you would want to get estimates if you're not sure? Like, you'd be able to open up that discussion, right, Rick? What kind of question would you
Right.
ask somebody who said that kind
Or
of
you
thing?
could even ask something like, well, yeah, you could even say, well, this is, this project, why would you even want to do this project? Why? What's even interesting even to talking about it at
Yeah,
all?
well, I was just the furnace is getting old, Rick, and I saw that there's some rebates from the energy company, and that I figured now might be a good time to take advantage of that rebate and that part of it there, which is kind of like a surface, I call it phony reason, because there's always rebates and there's always it was old like 10 years ago, not just now. So people do bring that kind of stuff, and then what other kind of questions could you ask besides just the surface? You're going to hear sometimes you will hear the truth. Sometimes, well, my daughter has allergies and I want to get a new one. So there you go. You got the real reason. But sometimes you get a
There
phony
you go.
reason too. So let's say you get a phony reason and somebody says it's a rebate or something like that is the reason why they're doing this. Should you really believe that a rebate is why people are buying $15,000 and stuff or $10,000 and stuff?
Right. No, so I would say, well, listen, there's no reason to rush. I mean, who knows? I mean, the rebates may be better
That's
next
right.
year. So maybe we should wait and see. Who knows? It could be something better coming along down the road. So, they have rebates all the time. So, if this is like something that you think you want to do, we could either stop here or we could continue on and maybe find something that's going to be a good solution for you. But, it's totally up to what's
No,
good for
I want to
you.
get this thing done, Rick. I got my daughter who really needs to get that bedroom cooling better on that second floor. And there you go. Now you got the real reason. So just opening up that
Right.
conversation.
Right.
And I guess if they don't bring up a person, we could just ask about those people. Like, how would we ask about those people? Because this is an important part of it, right, Rick? To be on code, you want to make sure that
Right.
this is going to be relevant to the people in the house. So how would you bring up the people in the home in terms of another depth to the reason,
But
getting more commitment about this?
Well, there's different ways we could do that. We could say, so Joe, let me ask you, how
Oh,
old is
it's
the
like
system?
38 years old. Yeah.
38 years old. So I'm sure that you're not worried about safety at all with the family. You're not worried about anybody. I know how many people do you have
Well,
in
I've
the house?
got my two kids, Laura and Billy, and I totally worry about their safety because Billy plays hockey down in that basement, and Laura, she does her ceramics down there and things like that. So definitely, it is concerning, Rick, for sure.
Okay. Oh, all right. So it's and now how about the health? Is everybody's good? So if I was a guest, is no one suffers from any kind of allergies or the house is very clean or as far as dust, you don't have any of those
No, this is
problems?
terrible in this house. I mean, so now that I think about it, we really do need to get this thing done. And there you go, Rick. In a way,
Okay.
continuing,
Right.
I guess, continuing that conversation with a few questions helped the client realize, I probably should get committed, or maybe it helps them recapture the reason why they originally did set an estimate. Because, Rick, let's put it this way: nobody's going to take 3 hours out of their life and sit down with a bunch of heating guys. Three. Let's say I get three estimates times 2 or 3 hours. That's like 9 hours of my life. Does anybody got 9 hours to spend with people that when they're not going to do anything?
Right. Joe, it's true. I think when a customer says that, he's trying to protect himself from having to make a
Yes.
decision, right?
Yes.
So, that's really what it's all about. But if you can, just ask them, it's our responsibility to find out, all right, they called us for a reason. All right. They like you just said, they took the time to do this. So you're going to say, so Joe, I know if I was to guess you probably have a lot of time, right? You have a lot of free time.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm busier than heck. I don't have any time, Rick.
All right, so you're really busy. So I appreciate you took the time to see me today. So why do you feel it's important if you take your time to come and even consider this? What is it what's
Well,
on
it's
your
really
mind,
my
Joe?
wife. She's worried about my son Billy's asthma. She really is concerned about that. I'm concerned too. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I'm
All right,
concerned too, but she really wanted. She's the one who really kind of started this whole project going.
right. So the point is that we have an opportunity to get down, to get real, and really find out
Yeah.
what's going on here. We can
Yeah,
ignore
I think
that,
we have to get the
right?
inside track where most heating guys would not. They would just blow past it. They wouldn't bother to ask the next question. So the why we're doing this, why we're doing it now, and who are the people who would be affected by leaving the old system in place or possibly getting a new system. How would that affect the people in the home and all the people? It's kind of learn about the people. And I tell you what, Rick, when you start calling people on a first name basis, you start using people's names as if you've known them for life. Now, I've seen you operate, Rick, and it's like half the time, by the time the end of the call's over, I'm like, does Rick know these people? Like, I felt like just observing you when I was on a couple calls a few years back, that I was like, man, it looks like he's known this guy forever, and we just got here. I mean, did I miss something? I mean, Rick seems like he knows this guy in a way. I mean, that's an important factor, right?
And, yeah, right. And Joe, and if your motive really is to provide world-class customer service, just not say that, all right? But if your motive really is to provide world-class customer service and to look after the health and the safety and provide quality to the customers and make sure that everybody in the house is comfortable, then that's the kind of relationship you're going to have with your customers. They're going to see, oh, he really does care about my son that has asthma. He really does care about my daughter, being cold or hot in that part of the house. All right, so so it really goes back to your finding out, looking at yourself what your motive is, and then finding out, what the needs of the customer are, so that you can provide a better solution.
Rick, now, so we talked about finding out the reason why, and the real reason, which is usually the people, the kids, the wife, everybody in the house who needs to get this solution. What would happen if they didn't get it, and what are they hoping to benefit if they did get it? What's a negative and what's the positive here in terms of how the people are affected by the system. So that's an important. How important is this? Now we're going to cut to the chase and move to after the call. Let's think about two situations. One situation is where you didn't learn any of that stuff. You just heard some guy say, we're not even sure if we want to do this, and you said, let's go measure the equipment, let's go measure the home, and you didn't talk about it.
Right.
You didn't talk about it. That's one scenario. And now later on, the customer says, holy cow, for that kind of price, we're going to have to hold off till next year. Now you get that going. Or scenario number two is where you had this conversation, you learned about Billy and Laura and the ceramics and the hockey and the safety and the health and the comfort and all that kind of stuff that people are concerned about. Now the customer says, oh my goodness, I didn't know it would cost this much, Rick. I'm not sure if I can continue at this point. This is so much money, I'm not sure if I could continue. What would you say now in scenario number one, where you never got those commitments, and scenario number two, where you got the commitment? How important are those commitments to be able to handle this afterwards?
Well, yeah, obviously, listen, if you just ignored them when they said they weren't sure they wanted to do the job, and you just went and you made a presentation then without handling any of those objections up front, you really got nowhere to go, right? You got nothing. So they say, well, this is a lot more than I want. You stand there and look at them. Or whatever, right? It just becomes a lot harder. But if they do bring up that objection at the end and say, well, yeah, I don't. This is a lot more than I thought. You can say, well, let me ask you, who would suffer, or would anybody suffer in the house if you didn't take action?
Yeah, I told you before, my son Billy and Laura, they get sick all the time. We got to get this thing done. And there you go. You're kind of reverting back to the original stuff you heard because you had that conversation. Make sense?
Right. Another one like I do, and let's think about it. This is logically, if you go to the home and they gave you an objection and you handed the objection and he talked about why now he's telling you why he'd want to do it, and now at the end of the call he's giving you this objection, well, the logical thing to want to find out is what changed from when it came to the end.
Yeah.
Right? So the question I like to ask all the time is, Joe, when I came, you told me that your son had asthma and that this room wasn't comfortable, and this, you had a lot of repairs on the system, and you felt it was starting to bleed you dry. And now that I've given my solutions, now you're telling me that you're not sure you even want to do it. So would you mind if I ask you a question, Joe? What did I do to make you feel like you didn't want to do it anymore?
Oh, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you did a great job, Rick. I mean, you did really great. Well, I
appreciate that. I can tell you. See, now we can go from there.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
You say, okay, well then, Joe, if I really did great, we'd probably, what would we be doing next at this point? Would we just go home and not get the job done? What would happen? And there you go. You're kind of at that point worry about that, have I done something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. Joe, take a look at it one more time. Pick out your favorite one and let me know which one it is. Like the top one. The top one. Can we admit that's too much? And how about the bottom one? You can do that. Now you're not.
Right, there we go. At least we have somewhere to go.
And let's go
with
back
it,
to
right,
that. Let's go back to that first scenario where we never had that conversation. Like, imagine a sales guy not having that conversation earlier in the call, and then later on when he gets this resistance about this is more than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to have to hold off on things. And then let's say the sales guy brings up the family and the kids without having a discussion about it, and he says, "Well, Rick, what about your kids? Aren't they important to you?" I mean, now it sounds like you're a sociopath who
Right.
basically has no like all of a sudden the customer's like, "Where did that come from? You're concerned about my family." I mentioned I told you before I wasn't interested in this thing to start with. I was just
Right.
looking at prices. I wasn't committed to anything. And so now it's
Yeah,
going to
you
create
can
an
see that.
argument if you were to bring up the family or that stuff if you were absent of that discussion earlier. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it's going to ring hollow. It really is. I mean, if you haven't really found out and showed your concern about why they want to have this done and to put the people in the family, and you bring something that's adversarial almost
Yeah.
at the end, right? You know. But the thing is, if you do handle the objections at the beginning of the call, and then you do get the objection at the end, I always say this to you, Joe, that I think that many salesmen don't realize how close they are to the
Yeah.
sale. All right, we talk about 3, 4, 5 levels of overcoming an objection at the end of the call. My experience, 1, maybe 2. If you have the answers or the solutions when they bring up the objection once or twice, usually you can bring them to find the right solution for that.
Well, Rick, I'm going to move on to the price objection. I'm going to ask you a surprise question, Rick. If you looked at all the jobs you sold last year, how many jobs did you say? How many actual jobs were sold last year on your part? You said last year did around $7 million in sales, over $7 million. So how many jobs does that represent for you as far as the amount of jobs?
I think I'm not exactly sure, but it was in the high 400s.
So
mid
400
400s.
jobs that were sold, so basically a little bit over 1 per day is being sold. On that, about 1.5 per day, I'd say, something like that. Let me ask you a question.
Right.
This next subject is going to be handling the price objection before and after. So let me ask you a simple question about those 450 odd calls, somewhere in that range. How many of those calls was your price higher than all your competitors or any of your competitors?
Yeah, I would imagine probably every
Every
one.
one of them that were sold. So you never were a situation where somebody said, "Wow, your price is like super great," and it's like way better than it's. Just so you know, you beat everybody by like $1,500 or $2,000. This is an easy decision. Not only are you doing great customer service, but your price is actually
Wow.
$2,000 cheaper too. Nobody ever said that to you in the 450 sales last year?
The next time I hear that, Joe, would be the first
And
time.
Rick, what would you think if somebody actually told you that? You know what? You're $5,000 cheaper than everybody else. What would you be thinking if that was the case?
Where did I made a mistake somewhere. Let me go check my numbers
You'd probably
again.
try.
Something's
You'd
gotta be
probably
wrong.
try and back out of the deal, right? You'd be like, "Holy crap! What did I?"
I said, wait a second. I'm going to check my digits here. My
I
zeros.
mean,
are off or
seriously,
something.
if somebody said that you were $2,000 lower than everybody else, you'd probably have to stop the call right there and say, "What exactly did everybody quote you? Because did I miss something?" Or you'd have to say, "I want to go over everything one
Right.
more time and double check because this doesn't." Something's
Right,
wrong with that.
and there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason why, Joe. Because the quality of service that we provide our customers is the best in the area, without a doubt. So there's no way that I could do it for $2,000 less. than
Totally.
anybody else,
I
because
think
they're not
that's
gonna provide
true.
the
And you know
level
what?
of service I can.
I
Right.
wouldn't want to be in a position where I could provide less than the best, and that just takes a little bit of a higher investment to get that done. Excellence is the result of doing 3 things and doing them every day: training, coaching, and accountability. These are the building blocks you'll need to perform world-class service. Being the best communicator doesn't come naturally, and most people quit when they hit that first barrier. I can tell you that the top 5% work on one thing they can control. That one thing is the effort they put into learning, practicing, and creating new habits. No one will ever have the passion that we have to push you across the goal line. We won't quit on people who believe in themselves. Do you care enough to try something different? If you do, your family, your company, and your industry will be glad you did. You'll leave a legacy of pure motive service that will live on for generations to come. All right, Rick, let's continue on with this price objection. So before that, when you hear people say, like on the worksheet, what does it say the customer's telling you? It's giving you an indication that the price might be a problem here.
Right. It says here, I'm looking for the best price on this electrical or plumbing or
So
furnace,
people are telling you
whatever it
looking
is.
for the best price, right? So let's go over that a little bit. What do you say to something like that when somebody says, I'm looking for the best price? Do we know what that means when they say that, for one thing?
Right. Yeah. See, that's what first of all, I want to find out what they mean. Right. I don't want to make an assumption that I know what they mean by what the best price. I may be thinking in my price they want the lowest price, but that's not necessarily the best price. Well, actually, we know it's not. Right. So it's just a simple question. All right. I understand you say that you're looking for a low price. You're looking for the best price. What do you mean when you say you're looking for the best price?
That's a good point. Well, I want a low one, Rick. I want the low. I want to make sure it's a really cheaper price than everybody else. I don't want to overspend on this.
All right, I understand that. Let me ask you. Do you think do you feel that it's best to buy something good, or buy something cheap?
Well, no. I mean, I don't want to go cheap. I shouldn't have said that. I mean, I definitely want to get something better, Rick. I mean, this is important for our family. I don't want to go cheap on it. No.
Right. Okay. So, if I was to ask you, when you call our company, what you hear about us? Did you, have you heard?
Well, I heard you guys are very high quality. Everything online, everybody
High
online
quality.
said it's going to cost more money at your company, but it's definitely worth it. That's what they said.
All right. So, if I didn't have the cheapest price, but I had the best value, would I be disqualified?
No, I definitely. That's what I'm looking for. I should have said that to begin with. I'm looking for a good value. So, no, we're definitely on the same page there. I'm not going to hire the cheap guy. No way.
All right, good. All right, good.
So-
I just wanted to make sure because I know your time is very valuable, and I wouldn't want to take up your time if you didn't think that we were
There
the
you
right
go.
fit.
So, Rick, it's an important conversation. And I think before the call, if something comes up where you hear the signal that somebody's looking for a cheap price, whether it's like I got some coupons I've been looking at, or I'm trying to save some money on this thing in some way, I'm trying to find somebody who's got a really, looking for a good value or something that's cheaper. If they actually bring that stuff up, you can say, well, Joe, I can tell you, nothing wrong with just telling people. I have a lot of people who have success by just saying, well, I can tell you something right now, because our quality, our attention to reliability and the safety and health we provide for our clients and the customer service we do is unparalleled in the whole area. I can tell you right now that the investment is going to be higher when you use our company. So if you wanted to, I completely understand if you wanted to hire somebody on Craigslist who doesn't have the same kind of quality we have, or maybe another contractor who cuts corners on that stuff. But it's going to be a higher investment to use us because it is a higher quality. Are you okay with that, or should we stop the call right now? What should we do at this point? Oh no, I want to. Again, giving people a chance to make that decision. How important is it to honor the customer to make that choice, rather than to make that choice for them? There, Rick, about that.
Right. It's really important. And again, we talked about earlier about ignoring it. We can ignore it and deal with it later, right? Or we could deal with it up front and just say, listen, we can still part as friends. We're not always a fit for somebody. We believe that, the cost to buy it will be more, but the cost to own it will be less. And it doesn't always have to be that serious, depending on the type of customer.
Yeah.
Right? I think I've told you a couple of stories I've had. I had a couple of stories of different people who saw, I've one person.
Go ahead. Share a story. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Yeah, I remember I told you this that right when this happened, a guy called me up and he was a bit of a character, I could tell right away. And he says, I just want to let you know the cheapest guy gets the job. I said, the guy was Tony. I said, Tony, I really appreciate you said that because you know what? I've got this stuff, this product. It's so cheap. You know, we call it Jana trash. It's really really cheap stuff. All right. Now, and if I was to guess, you don't care about how much it costs to run it at all,
Well,
right?
no, I care about that.
He's
No,
like,
of
well,
course he cares about that. Yeah.
right. All right. Well, Tony, how about this? You don't care how much it costs you to run, right? Electricity is cheap. Gas is cheap. Everything is cheap. You don't care how much it costs to run.
No, he cares. Yeah.
Right. All right. So if I was to ask you about warranty, I have this thing. It's called the taillight warranty. I drive down the end of the road. As soon as you can't see my taillights anymore, the warranty's over. What do you think of
Now you're
that?
just kidding me, right? I don't. Of course, I'm not interested in that, Rick.
Exactly
Yeah.
what he said. Exactly what he said to me. He said to me, I'm just kidding. He says, you're pulling my leg, aren't you? I says, I kind of
Yeah.
am. I said, because let's face it. When's the last time you bought something that was better, that cost less?
It was touche, right? Yeah. Fair enough.
So,
Yeah.
right. So right, exactly. That's one time. Another time, there's different objections you can get. A customer said to me, "Well, listen, I want a cheap price, so I'm not buying anything today." Right? I said, "Well, I talked to him a little bit about price, and I said, well, Joe, let me ask you a
Sure.
question. Why are you putting yourself in a corner like that?"
What do you mean by that, Rick?
And he says, "Well, yeah, what do you mean?" Well, listen, I didn't even say I was going to make a decision today, But what if I was to give you, six different options, just different solutions to the problems, and I have some that are more premium, some more in the middle, and some are lower, that are more economy, and there was something in there that you saw that met everything you needed. It was the price you thought it was going to be. It was the quality you thought it was going to be. Everything you wanted. But now you went and told me that you weren't going to buy anything or purchase anything. What would happen then?
Yeah, I see your point.
I said, so why don't we do this? Why don't I present some solutions to you? And now you're free if you don't like anything at all. There's nothing you see at all. What are you free
Keep
to do?
shopping, I guess.
Right. But if you see something that fits what you need, I mean, you don't have to be talking to guys like me taking all your time. If you find something that beats all as a good solution for you, then
Yeah,
what
that's a
would
good
happen?
idea. I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess I could go forward if everything seems fair and I find a price that's affordable and things like that. That'd be fine. Yeah, I see what you mean. Let's go ahead and do it your way. I like your way better. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And in both those situations, a customer ended up
There you
purchasing from
go.
me. Right. So it really makes a difference in handling those
Yeah,
objections right
so
up
I think
front.
in the price objection, I think an assignment for every salesperson who does competitive estimates, an assignment is to just definitely tell people that, and this is an important factor, because our quality, our reliability, our safety and health attention to your customers, the customer service that we provide is superior, and it's superior because we provide more customer service, more warranty and service than other people do. That's what proves it. And so, if I do all that stuff, I can tell you right now it's going to be a higher investment. And so, you'd have to make a choice between a guy who cuts corners on things and a guy like us who provides higher reliability and quality and all that stuff. So, what would you want to do? Which
Right.
choice would you want to make on that? If you can get people to make that choice early in the call, here's the thing about it, Rick. I've never seen anybody choose the guy who cuts corners on quality, health, and safety and reliability. Have you? Yeah, I've never seen
No,
that at all.
no.
So that's before the call. How about after the presentation? So now we made the presentation, and now people are like, "Holy cow, you weren't kidding! This is a higher price." And now you get some resistance. You had the conversation earlier. I guess you could use the same formula that we did on the first one, which is you could revert back to the conversation you had on this thing, right? Well, Joe, what did I say? You could just say
Right.
something like, "What did we say before about this?" Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so what should we do? You're right back at that again,
Right.
right? There's also some other techniques, Rick. What other techniques can you use after the presentation to kind of nudge people forward through a price objection, if you will?
Right. I like, it's interesting when you talk. For instance, you say to someone, "Well, Joe, if I was to ask you, what do you do for a living?"
Well, I'm a accountant. I run an accounting business.
Oh, I see. And I bet you if I was to ask you, you're probably the cheapest accountant around,
No,
right?
no, we are a premium firm. We charge a lot of money, actually. We're probably the highest priced in the area.
Okay, so why are you premium?
Well, because we have better quality, we get the job done right, and we definitely get it done on time too. So that's something. It takes more people to do that, Rick. It's higher quality.
Hmm, that's
I
interesting.
see your point, Rick. All right, let's go ahead and do that top option.
So a lot of times I'll ask
Yeah.
that question, and they'll say that. I'll just smile
Uh
at
huh.
them,
Don't even say anything. Just a
and then
smile.
I don't even say anything. I just look at them and I
Uh
smile at
huh.
them, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I get it, right?" So listen, we all know if we want something better, we can pay for it once up front. It actually costs less to buy it right. We all
Yeah,
know
I
that,
think
right?
we all do.
So you can buy it. You can pay in the front end and the back end, and the back end's always
It
more
is. It
expensive,
is. To overpay for it.
right?
The most
Right.
expensive thing you ever might purchase is the thing you bought that was too cheap. Make sense?
Right.
That's it. So, Rick,
Exactly. And so if just
good. That's fine. So,
go,
on the
go
back
ahead.
end, definitely creating, putting people in your place and saying, what do you do for a living? Are you the cheapest accountant? If they own a business or they're a white collar worker, would you say you're the cheapest? That your salary is the cheapest in the, let's say people do. They run a cleaning business or whatever. Are you the cheapest in this? No, nobody's ever says they're the cheapest, right? It's never a badge of honor. Now let's
Right,
say let's
right,
say it's a
right,
blue collar
right, right.
worker. In that case, we'd say, "What do you do for a living?" Well, I'm a teacher. Okay, well, would you say that
Right.
you're overpaid? What would you say on that? No, I'm not overpaid at all. We don't make enough money. Yeah, I mean, what would happen? What would happen if we
Right.
cut corners and we did the price for cheap? We did it for a cheaper price, but we had to cut corners on things that you couldn't see. Would you be comfortable with that? No, I mean, because what would happen if you hired somebody who's a teacher who would be a cheaper price? What would they do? Like if you're already underpaid, if we hired somebody who makes less than you, what kind of quality? What kind of quality would they
Right.
bring to the job? Yeah, they wouldn't be very good.
Exactly.
Yeah, so what should we do? Back to that what should we do moment there, right? And I think
Right.
there's
Yeah.
always the kind of the 101. You said it several times already, which is, Joe, let me ask you a question. When's the last time we ever got the best service for the cheapest price? That's always really one of the best. You probably uncorked that one. How many times a week would you say you bring something like that up?
Uh, all the time, because people know that, but they just have to be asked to reflect
Yeah, I
on it.
think it's kind of like an economics lesson. Like I think people are like wondering,
Right.
is this guy dumb enough to give me a cheaper price and give me the highest quality? We'll see if I can find somebody. See if I can find somebody
Right.
dumb enough to do that. Maybe I could. You never know.
Right. And I think there's two kinds of people. There's some people that get in that mindset, and you look around the house and they're driving expensive German automobiles and they got the latest in electronics and they got a beautiful home. And for some reason, they're in the mindset that the heating, air conditioning, or the electrical, the plumbing, or whatever trade that you're doing, they want cheap, right? So sometimes just a simple question gets them out of
Yep,
that,
yep, yep.
because they don't buy anything else that they don't buy anything else that way. Why would they buy this?
Yeah, yeah.
that?
You know, I think people are doing
Right.
too, Rick. They're kind
Yeah.
of like checking out your confidence, and they're basically, in a way, I think people are testing you to see if you really believe in these prices. Like, I think the way that it's a shortcut. I think we all take it, right? Like, are these prices firm, really?
Right.
Like, if I went shopping, so I mean, if I walked out of here, you'd let me go. People do that all the time, just to kind of test to see if people are firm on things. And if somebody's,
Right. I think.
I think if somebody says, "Yeah, you can go anywhere you want," but I tell you right now, the quality is never going to be better than when you use our company. So what should we do? And then you're kind of like, "Yeah, okay, let's just do
Right.
it your way." I mean, whenever
Right.
I
And,
can't remember
I-
last time somebody has ever stood firm with the price and acted like they deserved the price, where I didn't give them what they asked for. When somebody acts like they deserve the work
Right.
and deserve the price they're getting, I'm more than happy to give it to somebody who acts like they deserve it. You know what I'm saying there?
Right. Right. I totally agree with that. I think that I get more jobs by holding my price than I would ever get.
I think
by
you told me
lowering
a
my
couple
price.
times that a couple people said, "I'm going to give you this job." Can I tell you why? Remember you told me about a story where the guy said,
Right. I'll tell you a quick story. This was a $50,000 job, Joe. All right. So I had given the guy, he was a doctor and a big house, and I had given prices from from $60,000 all the way down to $30,000. And so he said to me, "Listen, I really like this $50,000 option." I says, "But I need you to lower the price." Make a long story short, I said, "Listen, I gave you seven. I happened to give him seven options on that job. Every time I gave you a different option, what did I do?" He says, "What do you mean?" "Well, was the platinum one, was the gold one, the gold plus one was cheaper than the platinum one, right?" "Yeah." "So every time I gave you a price, an option, I dropped the price." All right. So listen, you don't have to buy that $50,000 one. I have a $45,000 one just underneath it. Well, why don't you do that one? "No, no, no. I want the gold plus one at the gold price." I'm like, "Well, that's not how it works. The reason why it's the gold price is because the price dictates that based on the quality and the service attached to that job." He says, "Well, listen, if you, I want that. I want that gold one for the gold plus for the gold price." I'm like, "Well, that's not how it works. I'm more than happy to give you the gold." So we went back and forth for quite a time. I end up leaving. He says, "Well, listen, if you're not going to give me that price, then," I said, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's how it is." He sent me an email, same thing. Said, "Listen, I really want to do that, but I want to do it at a lower price." I said, "Listen, I already dropped the price 6 times, right? He drops when I gave you, it drops a little more. So the price is dictated by the quality and the service that goes with the job." So you're not going to drop the price. It says, "I'm sorry. I really love to have a customer. I'd love to give you the service, and I know you're going to be happy with our company, but the price is the price." He said, "All right, come by Saturday morning." Saturday morning I went by. He said, "Listen, I want to give you the job. I got a check here for 45,000. I'll give you the job right now." I'm like, "Listen, I can't do it. I'd be happy to give you the gold for the 45,000. He says, "All right, fine." He gave me the 50,000. As I was writing up the job, he says, "I want to let you know something." He said, "If you would have dropped the price, I would have not have given you the job."
That's funny. That's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And I asked him why. He said, "Because I never have been satisfied. If I would have get to drop the price $1,000, I would have thought maybe I could get it for
Yep.
1,500. If I got it for 1,500, I would have thought 2,000. He says, "Now I am satisfied that I got your best price for this job, and I'm happy."
Rick, that is a classic story, and thanks for sharing it with us again. Nice, great story there. Again, showing that people are really just testing you, and many times that's the very reason you're going to get the job is because the price is more premium. Rick, we're going to move.
Right. And I just have to say.
Go ahead. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go
I
ahead,
didn't mean
Joe.
to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say is you really, whenever they hit you with a price objection, you have to handle objection, and you cannot flinch. You have to have you. So first of all, your motive is you have to be confident that your price is right, and you have to understand why the price it is what it is. If you don't understand that, then you have to go talk to the accounting department so you can get confidence understanding why your company charged what it does.
That's
All right, but it's very important that you have that you're confident in your price and you don't flinch.
That's true, Rick. Now, I'm going to move on to the third objection, which is my wife and I need to think about it. So we covered the price objection both before and after, some objection handling techniques after, and also heading it off before. Let's talk about this one. How do we make sure that we don't run into a scenario where the husband and wife get to the presentation and then all of a sudden this turns into a situation where we need to go in private and think about it? There's probably some ways we can do to bring this together as opposed to having to go apart and think about it, right? What do you think on this?
Right. It depends. It's if I go to the customer's house and it's just the husband or just the wife, I want to make sure I set it up that put myself in the best position to come back and make sure I present all my solutions to both all the parties involved at the same time. So that's one way. That's very important.
Rick, let me ask you a question on that.
Go ahead. Right.
I think the situation here we're talking about is the husband and wife at the end of the call. We're trying to avoid that objection where we need to create a stall and separate from the sales guy and think about it later. What factor does letting everybody be part of the conversation before the call? So if here's what I kind of feel. I feel like if we are going to make a presentation and all we heard from was the husband and we didn't hear from what her point of view was on this whole thing, naturally we kind of have this already set up that the other person never had a chance to share their thoughts. So how important is it that your equal opportunity and letting people share their thoughts on why they're doing this job and what they want to get from this job. Is that an important factor to heading off that objection so they're expressing
Yeah.
themselves before?
Absolutely, Joe. See, this is an objection I don't usually get, right? I don't usually get, well, me and my wife have to think about it after I make my presentation, all right? Because I've done a couple of things beforehand. First of all, I found out who was involved and when they're going to be involved. And then I also asked a question like, so what other appointments do you already have booked? So a customer said, oh, I already have this company this day and this way, so now I'll set my appointment up to come back after them. All right. So by handling this in a situation, it doesn't often end up at the end of the call that they after I make my presentation they have to think about it.
Right.
All right. Usually they already have all their other information. I've presented to both of them. I've provided solutions that no one else did, and they want to they want to purchase one of my solutions. Yeah. All right. But if it does happen that you get, well, we do have to think about it a couple of different ways. Sometimes people do say, listen, we always sleep on decisions. We always take a couple of days to think about something, which, is understandable. Right? So sometimes perhaps
exactly.
some premium solution. Yeah, right. But you know what? There's no mystery at the end. Well, I can appreciate, Joe, that you guys have to take a couple of days to think about that. So today is Wednesday. So what time on Friday should I come back and see which one of these solutions?
So that would be the afterwards, right? The way you'd handle that. So if it came down to where people really did need this time, let's go ahead and schedule the final appointment. That's kind of like the truth detector, the lie detector. Because if people make the appointment, then they're still interested in what you're doing. If they don't want to make the appointment, you pretty much know that they're not going to use your service at that point. Now let's talk about before it though. Like before early in the call, we hear a lot of people who say things like, hey, just so you know, we're just getting some prices right now. We still have a few other people coming out, so we're not going to make any decisions today on this. So sometimes you get that right up front, right? Like you get that, and so in a way you kind of covered this before a little bit, where you said, well, Joe, it sounds like you're restricting yourself on this. You and Laura sound like you're restricting yourself. What do you mean there, Rick? Well, I mean, you haven't even seen what I had to offer, and you already have decided that you have to keep shopping. Why don't you give yourself some freedom to at least look at the options and make a decision if you need to keep shopping or not? Have you thought about that? Well, that's a good idea. And then you kind of introduce that thought. So I think some of the stuff kind of blends over into a couple different techniques. Like obviously the commitment of the thing before. This is another way of people remaining non-committed. The first one we said where people are uncommitted, they're not sure if they want to do it or when they want to do it. Now they're telling you right on the very front end that we just want to get some prices. Then we're going to take all the estimates and talk it over amongst ourselves and then let you know what we've decided. That's kind of what people say. And you talked about the freedom technique. Joe, why don't you give yourself some freedom? It sounds like you're restricted on that, right? What else can we say about that part of it when people just up in the front end just tell you that, you know what, we're just going to get some prices today and we'll give you a call back later?
Right. Joe, I go back to what I'm thinking in my head, right? You have the little thing talking in your head. So when I go to a home and I see a husband and a wife there, and they say they're not ready to make a decision yet, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, all right, you're both here, you have a need. Why are you committing not to make a decision? If I was to ask these people, I bet they'd say they're both pretty busy. And I bet you they're not home together often.
No, like every married couple, we probably only get about, we probably get, 4 hours. I mean, you get home at 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever. You have some dinner together. Maybe you go watch a ball game while your wife does something else, or maybe you hang out together and watch Law and Order for a couple episodes, and then it's time to hit the hay in a couple hours. You spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your own wife, probably, right?
Right. So what I've done quite often is, Joe, if I was to ask you, I bet you would say that you're not busy. Oh,
I'm busier than heck. Right? I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger in a butt kicking contest.
Right. You know what? To tell you the truth, I thought you were going to say that because we're all busy, right? Yes. We're all busy, right? So I'm just wondering, you have your wife here, you have me here. everybody's here. Why are you feeling as though you can't make a decision? But you probably didn't know. I'm probably gonna have probably 6 or 7 different solutions for you on this
Oh,
thing.
if you do that, that would make my job easier. I guess we wouldn't have to keep shopping if you had
Right.
6 or 7 different things.
And so I'll bring that a little further. So if I was to show you 6 or 7 options, and there's nothing in there at all that you thought that you would that would solve that would be a good solution for you, what are you free to
I just
do?
keep going and find somebody else then.
Right. And if you do see something that fits your need and it's the right price and the right solution for you, maybe you don't have to take your time to keep on going like that. So if you found something that it was good, what do you think would
I'd go
happen
ahead and get
then?
the damn thing done then. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, let's do. I like your way of doing. Let's do it your way again. Again, you're kind of giving
Right, right,
people that thing. It's like, why are you making this decision to do this when you haven't even seen anything yet? And I think I've had some other people, Rick, weigh in and say things like I've heard some people say, well, just so you know, the way we do our job is we do a thing called name your price. We actually shop the entire, like in your case, they'd say, we shop the entire Boston, Massachusetts marketplace, the whole New England area, and we've discovered that what the highest and most highest investment would be to do the highest quality, and we've also seen what the cheapest prices are. And I'm going to show you all those prices today so you can shop in one place. Now, if I were to do that, what impact would that have? That's another one that people do now, which seems very
right.
effective. I've had some people say, "Have you ever seen Progressive Insurance?" Yeah, I've seen that. Well, you know how they put all the competitors' prices on their website? Yeah, that's kind of what we do. We've already shopped the market and we've looked at all the prices, so we create a range of prices from the premium down to the economy, and that's how we do it too. So that's kind of like a way before again to let people know that you're going to see a range of solutions. So if you want to shop in house, we can do that if you want to. It save you some time, and if you guys, unless you guys really want to waste spend all your time with heating guys, I can save you probably 6 hours on this, type of thing. So
Right.
that's really
Right.
a big one, which is saving people time because you have that range of solutions you're talking about. Make sense? And
Right.
then you got
Totally.
the afterward you talked about before. And really, it's almost the same kind of situation, isn't it? Well, Joe, I mean, I guess you could keep
Right.
shopping if you wanted to. You guys, you could stop it over and takes time. I mean, we'd have to make another appointment and things like that. How much time do you have in your schedule? Not very much at all. I mean, yeah, I mean, when I first got here, what'd you say you wanted to accomplish? Yeah, I told you I want to get this thing done. Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in and
Right.
just let's keep working on this till we bring it to a conclusion, if you don't mind. This way, I can help you with this today.
Yeah. Joe, it amazes me sometimes. I've done some training. I've trained another salesman recently, and we'll have a need, right? We have a customer that has no heat, and it's 20 degrees out, and the customer's saying that they're going to get other prices, or that not sure if, that they want to talk
Yeah.
to other people. All right. Yeah, I mean, so listen, I've given you all solutions. So sometimes it's just simple as listen. You know what really doesn't make sense to me. I've given you 7 different solutions, or 6 or 7 different solutions, from the most premium, set more range down to the bottom, and you have no heat, and you still feel as though you have to talk to other people. Again, I go back to taking responsibility, right? So what did I do is to feel like you have to be talking to other people, and we just can't get this taken care of right now and get you heat back for your family,
Good one. That's going, Rick. Yeah, exactly.
right?
And I think it gets like
Right,
people are like, well, nothing. You did a great job. Again, they're gonna. Who's gonna say you did a bad job? They're gonna say, no, you
right,
did a great job, Rick.
right. Because again, in my mind, it's not making any sense to me. These people have no heat, and they still want to go with a heat for a day or two, or for wait till tomorrow. It doesn't make any sense. So we have to question that situation and say, this doesn't really make any sense. I've given you all those solutions. What did I do to make it feel like you had to talk to somebody else? And then you help them understand that maybe it's right for them to pick a good
Well,
solution.
Rick, I think we just about said everything that could be said on this subject. We probably could each one of these objections we could probably spend a couple hours on and talk about it. But this is called the hour of sales power, not the 4 hours of sales power. So we're going to bring it to a conclusion right now. Rick, any final thoughts or things that you want to leave people with before we wrap up the show today?
Just that when you get objections, that you're one step closer to helping their customers pick a solution that's right for them, and that it's not always as far away as you think it is. I mean, so many times people think that the sale is so far away and it's right around the corner. Sometimes only one objection away. So really think about the motive of, and if you in handling objections up front, so that you don't have them afterwards, and helping your customer pick the right company for them because you know that your services, that how you're going to take care of their family's health, their safety, their quality, the customer service you're going to have, the cost of ownership, all things that are of great value to your customer. And you're really doing them a favor if you can help them see that choosing your company is what's best for
Well,
them.
that's all we have time for today, Rick. I want to say thank you one more time for joining us here on the Hour Sales Power after a hard days of work. We're going into the busy season right now, and I'm glad I could get one in here with you. And thanks for joining us here today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Joe. I really
Well,
appreciate the time.
I want everybody to know that as usual, the best conversations take place over at contractorselling.com. If you want to go there and subscribe, you can get all the Hour of Sales Power archives, including the recording of this call, at the contractorselling.com website. It's $89 to subscribe, as little as $89 to subscribe, to get over 2,000 content pages of videos and audios and downloads to learn how to do pure motive service. As well as, I think the tweetable for today is handle objections up front so you don't have to do it at the end. That's our tweetable of the day. So if you want to tweet that out, at Joe Crisera, that'd be great. My Twitter handle is Joe Crisera, all one word. Just put it out there and do it that way, and that'd be a great thing. And you can go to any one of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat even, and join us there. And odds are you'll be able to talk to me directly and have some conversations to be able to have the pure motive to help you and your team do the kind of service that you've always wanted to do. That's all we have for now, everybody. Thank you very much. Signing off. We'll see you at the next Hour of Sales Power. Goodbye, everybody.